YouTube, Brian Phillips here again. We've got some new equipment for our hay experience, hay extravaganza, and it consists of a sprayer, which we are going to be using. This is a 40-gallon sprayer. It goes 120 inches wide of spray coverage, with it being 20 inches off the ground. So we set that, just kind of know where to have it. We're currently recirculating in this case, this would be a herbicide. We're going to try to get some of these weeds under control. And you can see we've got some spears up front. We also have two 49-inch spears that are on the back. We're learning that taking care of the hay is not just cutting the hay and baling the hay, but then you have to move the hay. And then in our case, we have to kill a lot of these trees because there are just too many trees.
And broadleaf weeds.
And broadleaf weeds, but mostly the trees. That's what I'm worried about. Broadleaf weeds are not good for hay, but it is what it is. We just have too many of them. In the back, we're actually good, so we're just gonna try to treat where we need to treat, and then we'll see what type of an improvement we get. But as you can see, our grass has been coming in nicely. If you wanna give them shots of that, where we did our finish work. And so we're gonna try to sort of maybe just go sparing on those areas, because we don't wanna hurt any of the new grass, obviously, but we do wanna definitely reduce the weed pressure, and it's really easy to apply with the tractor like this. Again, this is a John Deere 1025R. It's 25 horsepower. I didn't want one with an electric pump, but I have an electric pump on there, which is kind of nice because it's running right now, recirculating. And I basically just stole power from my tap that goes to the baler. So really easy setup. I can run this on its own auxiliary power. It's got a sprayer with 25 foot of hose, so I can take that off the gun. And in order to make this thing spray, I just have to switch the valves. There's a total of 2 valves, and then of course the trigger has a locking trigger if you want. This is the bypass, so right now if you look inside the tank, it's just recirculating. See it? So it's recirculating. We did a 30-gallon batch, and we're hoping to do, I mean, who knows, maybe we'll get it done in one. But that
was hilarious.
We just have to shut off the bypass and then open up the boom, and the pressure will, instead of going through the bypass, it's going to go to the boom. So we'll see. We got everything measured out. Nice little simple setup. I wanted to do a little bit bigger and have a PTO driven pump, but this is a 2.1 gallon sprayer system. It's going to be fine for what we need to do, because hopefully we'll only be treating with herbicides, if that, once a year. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay, he's just making his first pass here. So I'm gonna film just a little bit, and then I'm gonna kind of get out of here since he's all geared up. We'll watch him do a couple of passes. He's gonna go kind of fast on this first section where we put down new grass seed this year. If you've watched it come in, this was literally just, what you can see that short was just rocks and dirt from the construction process. So we tilled it all up and put down grass seed. So he's gonna try and figure out what his path is gonna be, which is always new and exciting, just like when we started with the drum mower. He hasn't been in the field since we did our first cutting of hay. We've just been letting it grow. But like he said, we are trying to get rid of some of those broadleaf weeds, and then some of the saplings that come up in our area. We get tons of volunteer mulberry and that kind of stuff. And lots of dogwood. Our fence line over there is dogwood, and then it just kind of spreads, and sumac and all that kind of stuff. It just gets crazy. So get some of that under control. Hopefully maybe once a year is all we'll have to do for this application. But our area is so hilly, and it's not very big up here just on the front, that it doesn't make sense to bring in like a big 120 foot sprayer. So it's just easier, like everything, if we just do it ourselves. That's kind of what we're learning through this whole process. And then we're in control. We can do it when we have time, when the weather is right. It's not very windy today. It's hot, but that's okay. I will give you a shot when he comes back up the hill, and then we will call it good. Coming around for his second pass. The tank's not empty, so that's a good sign. You can kind of see how much it sprays there. It is adjustable, and then obviously based on the speed that you're going. So we will probably give you an update here in a couple days when we know if it worked or not. But for now, this is our 40-gallon tank sprayer from Fimco. It is the 12-volt option with an electric pump. There is a 3-point PTO driven option, but this is the one we went with because that's the one we found, and it was economical. And being only 40 gallons, it's not super heavy, so it's well within, you know, easy lifting capacity for our 3-point on our John Deere 1025R. That is it for now. Thanks for watching.
YouTube, Brian Phillips are here with an update. It's been exactly 1 week, almost within the hour of when we sprayed our herbicide with the 40-gallon sprayer from last week. Of course, it's been 1 second on the video. So this is what we've got. It looks like this is horse's tail, right?
Yeah, like Canadian horsetail or
This
something.
horsetail is dying somewhat or getting really weird, which is probably good. There's some back here that's a little bit more consistent. You can see the red clover is getting killed, and pretty much most of the leaves are, anything with leaves is getting killed. This stuff is definitely getting killed, which is good. And my concern was where we had the really thick stuff. I don't know if I missed a spot maybe here, but this stuff actually was pretty lush before, so I wonder if it is it's yellowing a little bit. But it seems like the application of the product was really good. I used the sprayer, but I forgot to film it, so we might film another update. But it looks like we're killing, like this was thistles, I think. No, I'm not sure what it was, but it's definitely dying.
Yep.
So the good news is we don't have to mess with probably respraying again. What the heck is that thing? That's so weird.
That's what has those little like
Oh,
green little tiny tomatoey things in them.
yeah, that's right.
Which is definitely dying.
Yeah,
that's good.
So the good news is the grass seems to be living, which is what we're after. Yeah, these things. That's so weird.
I don't even know what those are.
Yeah, I don't know what they are either. But either way, the idea is the sprayer definitely did a good application. It seemed like it was nice and even. There's the areas that you can see that are thickest here are the areas where the construction crew either had piles of debris or they had the driveway had come through, but they also had some overdig to get in the electrical and then the water respectively. So you can even see them on the way up to the house. So I was getting ready to mow earlier and I said we better do a quick update so people can see kind of how things turned out. We might spray the ditch with the wand just so you can see how well it sprays. We did some spot treatment down by the creek because with this particular herbicide, which we're not even going to mention it just because we don't really have any interest in sharing that, we had to spot treat in certain areas, and we're trying to be careful about following all the label directions and everything. Unfortunately, it looks like the grass is pretty sparse here, so I don't know what that means, if we need to overseed this area, but those areas that had the hills of sand or pea gravel that they were using for construction, that's where we have the most of this horse's tail. And then of course where we had our water line. So the good news is the sprayer definitely does a nice job. And where I went over the sod, it definitely killed the different small amounts of weeds and things. Most of that stuff was just coming through. So it's not like it didn't match. We had actually quite a bit of red clover that had made it through. And then we had a a bunch of these broadleaf weeds. And then there's this one vine that goes through that had white flowers. And our construction or our farm equipment that we've got stored over here, we just had to put some new stuff down tonight, and it had gone all the way over the top of everything. It's beautiful, white flowers, really pretty. But the thing is, it's like wrapped around every tentacle of every machine. So like if I were to grab it with the tractor, I'm pretty sure it would maybe yank it out. But there's about 100 contact points to the ground. So it's just incredible how fast nature tries to take back over. And let's just show the people over here. One of the things I noticed about the sprayer is when I would go over when you'd have a really tall stand, like right here, what would happen is you would knock over the first little bit, but then they would almost kind of block the other leaves. So you can see where some of this has been treated a little bit stronger than other areas. So this might be one of those spots where I have to just necessarily come out and spray with the wand, but you can see where it's really well, it's yellowing a lot. So I think our treatment's gonna work, and we're not looking for perfection right now. We're just trying to kind of get things tamed down. And the tractor, the 1025R, has been excellent. We've done so much stuff with it. There's no way we could have done, I mean, virtually any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we could mowing the lawn with the zero turn, the 655R has been good, but it's just, you can't do all the things you need to do with a regular zero turn. You can mow the grass very effectively and fast, but boy, without that tractor, we would have been in big trouble.
Yeah.
So if you guys are thinking about buying property and you're not thinking about buying a tractor, you may want to rethink that. Or just don't, and then buy property, and you'll find out real quick you need some sort of either a tractor or a bobcat or a skid steer or whatever it is that whatever meets your fancy. But I can tell you the tractor, bang for the buck, is going to get you the most different applications. And I mean, we've got what, like 10 things we're running on it right now.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff already.
Yeah, the sprayer, the 54-inch drum mower, the spears, the forks, the bucket, the loader. Of course, the loader's part of a few of those. The rake, the power rake,
the baler,
of course.
2 snow push.
Oh yeah, the snow
plows.
push and the back drag blade.
The tiller.
The tiller. That's 10.
Did you say the sprayer?
I said the sprayer, I thought. So that might be.
We're
is that all?
missing something.
Yeah, there is something else. Well, we've got the different 3-point tool that's used.
Oh, the auger.
The auger. That's right.
Yep.
The first thing we used. So it's just amazing, and you'll do more with one of those tools in like an hour than you could do in a day of hard labor.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. So when you look at the price tag and you're like, man, this machine's gonna be like 15 grand, and you're thinking, where are we gonna get 15 grand? That costs as much as our family car, you know, our used family car or whatever it is. I mean, we spent a little bit more than that on our used family car, but even still, you're gonna need it.
Yep.
You're gonna need it. So you might as well plan on it. So when you're budgeting for your house and everything, you need to budget another $1,000 a month so you can afford all the crap that you didn't think about.
Yeah.
Which is about right for the first 6 months for us.
Or year and 6 months.
Year and 6 months, 18 months, yeah. But anyway, that's about it. So we wanted to talk to you guys about that real quick, just so you could see kind of how things are dying back. I was really, give them a shot of like where the lines are. I was concerned about how driving over this pasture would impact the grasses and the weeds. Of course, obviously the weeds are dying back. The grass is recovering just fine. Our tractor's probably, with the sprayer on full, we're about 27 or 2,800 pounds, but it's got a really low PSI because of big tires. Yeah. So you're gonna knock over the grass a little bit. And we did it when it was relatively dry, so that helped. If we had a good rainy day, the grass would perk back up. Oh yeah, instantly. And we haven't had hot rain. And we haven't had a lot of rain. So. Yeah, actually it's really cool right now. Yeah, it's been today. Hot. So, without further ado, are there any other thoughts you have about that? No, it's a Fimco, right? Yep, Fimco 40 gallon. It's got the 12 volt, so the power. For the pump. We just tapped the power from our. We had a lead that came off of the. Power controller for our baler. the power wire was not long enough to reach to the battery.
Yeah.
But they do sell an adapter that you can buy that'll go straight up to the battery, and it's got the taps, and then you can extend it. So that's one thing to be thinking about. I mean, it's really not rocket science. If you guys have a property, there's chances are you're going to have a pair of strippers and some butt splices and a pair of side cutters and things like this that you're going to need to extend the wire. But
it's probably one of the easiest things we've put together and used for the tractor.
It was quick,
pretty straightforward.
It was really reasonably good directions. The pictures were clear. The only thing we did wrong was we put the sprayer on the wrong side thinking we could get away with something, and it didn't work out because then the self collapse would have pinched the line. So you have to do it the way the picture shows, and it does work. It doesn't look like it's going to work in the picture because you're like, isn't that going to pinch the, and it still kind of tends to pinch the hose a little bit. But I did have the quick breakaway work when we went across the bridge, and it worked perfectly. It broke back and it went right back into position, which is great because when you're spraying, you're not wanting to have to look back, you're wanting to look forward. And so a lot of times when you're driving a tractor, you're looking back a good deal of the time, which is, you know, sounds very bad from city folk land, but when you're used to driving a tractor, you're pretty much looking backward half the time, or better. So really happy with it. I would definitely buy it again. The only thing I would consider is we ended up mixing a 30-gallon batch. Then we did a 20-gallon batch. Then we did a 10 and a 10 and a 10.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So we ended up doing 80 gallons. So we could have just done two full 40-gallon batches.
But we just weren't sure.
Yep. And the top is big enough that we had a 32-ounce cup that we had used to measure out in our case, it was 2 ounces per gallon is what we were using for our concentrate mixture. And I had my gloves and everything on, and I could just dip the cup down into the water and rinse off all the active ingredient, and it worked really nice because that opening is big enough to fit that 32-ounce cup, or it was a 40-ounce cup. It's like a Wendy's cup or something. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter, but it fit all the way in.
Yep.
So if you decide to buy it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. We'll probably close out the video with some spraying with the wand, and maybe we'll do some touch up here in a couple more days just on these certain areas where it doesn't seem to be dying back. And then there's certain plants that just haven't really taken. Like, I don't know if I missed this or if it's just especially resilient. It looks like I might have just missed it. But then there's some dieback around it, so maybe this thing, because look, like even this vine that's running up the side is dying. So I'm not sure. Maybe this thing just needs a little bit extra treatment.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, you have to be careful about, like in our case, we planted 100 trees. I know it sounds crazy because we already got thousands of them. But we planted 100 trees. There was like 75 red oak, pin oak, and river birch. And I don't think any of the river birch did anything. I think they're all dead. So the elderberry are doing great, and then the red oaks and pin oaks are doing okay. I think a few of them either got eaten by bunnies or to the point where they have no foliage. So I don't know if they're going to live. And but the point is, we planted them next to our cutting path, so you'll want to be real careful that your spray pattern goes beyond where the boom is. So just keep that in mind as you're getting close to your edges, or if you have bushes, things like that, you'll want to be a little bit careful. Like what's happened here. This isn't really a problem because we have so much of this stuff. That's a wild grapevine. Or is that?
That's not.
But that one was hanging down, and I don't know if it's, yeah, that one just got sprayed, but I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine. We have millions of them.
We got plenty.
So I don't care. But if I had an oak tree there that we had planted, I would prefer not kill it.
Yeah. Or if you're driving like on your neighbor's lot line or something.
Yeah.
Just, you have to be aware of overspray.
Yep, because the overspray, it's with the herbicides especially.
Yep.
And if you're using a pesticide, I'm not sure how effective the treatment would be with that sprayer. It does spray down, and I measured to 20 inches, and so I just put my 3-point adapter or the 3-point knob to about 6.5 is where I needed it to get it to 20 inches, and that gave me my approximately 120 inches of spray coverage. And it was really good. So I just did quite a bit of overlap though, because you can see where my tire tracks are. I was fairly close to where my tires were, and very happy with it. I was very nervous about doing the electric pump. I thought it was going to be super weak, and it kind of is, but the thing that's really nice is when it overpressures, it shuts off. which is nice. So like if you shut the valves and you're not thinking about it, it just shuts the pump off, which is really nice. On a PTO driven one, I don't think that would be happening. I think it would just be blowing out seals. So a couple things to keep in mind. And it was significantly cheaper too.
Yeah.
So that's always handy. Any other thoughts before we go to the spray part?
I think that's about it.
Everybody always enjoys a good spray.
Well, I mean, if you're expecting it.
Yes, that's right. And what we're going to spray is up here, we believe. Just because this is just...
Oh, yeah.
It's just out of hand crazy.
We've gotten tons of just saplings and stuff in the ditch and some thistles.
Some of the trees we kind of like, so we might be pretty selective with how we do this, but there's lots of thistles. And they don't have their flowers on them yet, but when they do get flowers on them, it's going to be game on.
Yeah.
All right. More to come. Stay tuned.